Hit the shower, grab your coffee, and get ready to attack the weekend with Charlie Uczen and Jack Pembroke as they catch you up on everything Wisconsin sports you may have missed this past week. All before you even finish your breakfast. It's Wisconsin Sports Weekend, brought to you by the Apollo Cafe on Brady Street. 25 years of Greek tradition. Enjoy gyros, souvlaki, fresh salads, and the legendary Zeus burger. Dine in, take out, or get it delivered. Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
How we doing, folks? How we doing? Welcome on into Wisconsin Sports Weekend, like the big voice lady just said. My name is Charlie Uczen. That is Jack Pembroke on the other side of the glass there. And we are here with you every Saturday morning from 9 to 11, except for some cases where I'm not in or Jack's not in. But most of the time, it's Jack and I. Jack, how was your day yesterday? How was your week this past week, man?
It was a good week. We just had to do something for 103.7 over at B-Mobile Verizon, and wanted to thank the guys that were super nice and got me a cover for my phone.
Nice.
So
Awesome.
Jay Fergosa and Brandon Palmer and Terrell Kennedy, shout out to you guys. You guys are the best.
There you go. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, like I said, on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sports Book. And we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. We have a great show for you guys today. At 9:20, we're just going to discuss this Packers-Eagles Monday Night Football game coming up on Monday. I'm going to be at the game. I'm going to try to call into some of the shows on Monday, on Tuesday, to give you guys a beforehand, how the scene is looking, how the scene's looking afterwards, after the game. Maybe I'll call into the post-game show. If the Eagles beat the Packers, I may have to gloat to Sparky a little bit.
That would be amazing, Charlie.
But the Green Bay football post-game show is going to take place right after that game on Monday night, so stay tuned for that. That's with Sparky, like I said, Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, and Tommy Wirtz. They're going to be hosting that bad boy, giving you a recap of everything that had happened in that game. At 9:40, we're going to dive into some midseason awards for the Green Bay Packers, talk about who's been the best players on this team in different aspects. It should be a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys can dive into that with us. If you want to, you can hit us up on Twitter, on YouTube. We are live streaming video on there of Jack and I. Jack's beautiful face. He's growing a beard. It's starting to get a little long over there.
No shave November, but I probably will be shaving today.
Boo.
I know.
Let it grow out.
I know.
I want to see full bearded Jack.
I can't pull a mustache off like you. I look like an Irish Mario.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Irish Mario's kind of cool. But we're going to dive into mid-season awards again. If you want to hop in on that, YouTube, X. You can also hit us up on social media, anywhere else at WI Sports Radio. So Instagram, again, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all those, we are on there. You can also hit us up on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line, 414-677-1250. Again, 414-677-1250, 1250 to get onto the show that way. In the 10 o'clock hour, we're going to hop into Payne lazevich, talk about Badgers football, some of the coaching situations that's going on with that, and what Chris McIntosh put out there yesterday in the interview he had with Jesse Temple. Should be a lot of fun talking about that. And we're also going to dive into some Badgers basketball because they started off the season 2-0, had another great game last night. Transfer Nick Boyd looked really good.
Another Tanjay.
That's what we're hoping.
Yeah.
That's what we're hoping. At 10:20, as always, we got the Warlocks Locks. And at 10:40, we're going to close off the show again, as always, with the Wisconsin Sports Weekend Pub Crawl. To start off the show, though, we wanted to hop into the Bucks game from yesterday, where the Milwaukee Bucks took down the Chicago Bulls in NBA Cup group play. It was a big win for the Milwaukee Bucks. It was 126-110 behind Giannis Antetokounmpo's 41 points in this game. He's been on fire to start this season, Jack. Did you expect this type of start from a Giannis going into this season? I mean, obviously, he's one of the greatest players of all time. He's always going to be phenomenal, but this has been like better than his MVP seasons. Phenomenal.
I think he's been listening to Sham trash talk this team and trash talk him leaving for New York or Toronto or some other place that's a little bit warmer in winter. He's here to stay, people. And this man is angry and he is on a mission early on. He looks in rare form just in the first couple weeks of the season.
Definitely. And Ryan Rounds in this game has a little bit of a bounce back. He has 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists with 3 steals and a block on defense. I mean, just Ryan Rollins as a player. I think we went into the season with Kevin Porter Jr. in mind as that starting point guard, and Ryan Rollins was going to be this backup. He was going to be a really lanky player that I think had a lot of upside in people's minds, but the upside was definitely capped. I think he's exceeded that cap that a lot of people have expected for him. Jack, Ryan Rollins, from what you've seen from him so far in the first 9 games of the season, how much has he exceeded those expectations that you personally had for him from before the season?
I thought we gave up a little bit more to DC and the Wizards than we were getting. Evidently, I was wrong, because Ryan Rollins looks like an early Christmas present at point guard. Like you said, we were hoping KPJ, Kevin Porter would be our, knight in shining armor at the point guard position, at the guard position. But man, when you have a guy like Ryan Rollins, he makes so much on offense and defense easier for you, because now you can let Miles Turner kind of become the player you want him to become. You can let Giannis get his touches and get going to the basket. It's nice to have a guy who can shoot the way Ryan Rollins shoot, play defense the way he can play defense, and he can distribute the ball, which is something we did not have a point guard with height that could crash into the lane and distribute. And we have one now.
No, it's really nice to see them be able to have that. What I'm seeing with this Milwaukee Bucks team so far to start the season through these first 9 games, I've talked about this on Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky 5 from 2 to 5 here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. But we talked about how Damian Lillard and Giannis, although they're both great players, although going into that trade, I felt like that was something where the Bucks won no matter what. I still think the Bucks won that trade overall. I mean, they had technically the most success between them and the Trailblazers, and I know the Boston Celtics had the most success out of that trade because they got Drew Holiday in the end out of that and ended up winning them an NBA championship with Drew Holiday. But between the Blazers and the Bucks, it was still somewhat of a success, even though it ended up being a failure. You saw when both those guys were healthy, the peak that this team could be at. But I think also what you saw when both these guys were healthy, and I think this is also partly because they spent so much time injured individually too, as well, that you saw too often, especially last season, when Dame and Giannis were on the court together, if Dame had the ball in his hands, it was one style of play that this team would play. And then if Giannis had the ball in his hands, it was a completely different style of ball that they would play. And that would be with both of them on the court. And then you take one of them off the court, and now you're exclusively playing this style of ball in that type of set. And then you take Dame off the court, you put Giannis in. And then now all of a sudden, all those guys have to play a completely different style of basketball. With Giannis on the court right now being the sole star of this team, and then guys like Ryan Rollins stepping up next to him, guys like Miles Turner stepping up next to him, you're seeing the identity of this team become so much more focused. And I think with a lot of young players on the squad, because this Bucks team, I think you look at it and you say, Giannis is an older player, Miles Turner is a little bit of an older player, Bobby Portis is a little bit of an older player. So I think people are a little critical of that because this team has been an older team in the past, but the rest of this team is extremely young.
Very young. And what I'm excited about is we're giving the ability for Giannis to be Giannis and Miles Turner to be who we brought him in to be here. Last night showed it. He hadn't really shown it before last night. He was physical. I know off air we talked, he might be taking a little bit leeway with his threes. And we want
I think that's also, and I was thinking about this after we talked about it, because I am a little critical of that. I think that's something that got Brook Lopez screwed a little bit in his last 2 years with the Milwaukee Bucks, and why people didn't like watching Brook Lopez play is because he would just sit on the perimeter and chuck up the threes, and his interior play wasn't really there, even though you knew Brook Lopez could play interior basketball. He is a really good interior player. That's what he did exclusively in Brooklyn when he was the all-time leading scorer for the Brooklyn Nets. So I think with a Miles Turner, yes, you are a little frustrated that he's kind of falling into those same habits that Brook Lopez was later in his career. But there's two things there. I think one, he was never the same kind of post player that Brook Lopez was. And I think that makes it a little less frustrating because you knew what you were going to get out of a Miles Turner in those situations. I think the first few years of Brook Lopez with the Bucks, he did semi-play that interior style basketball where you could see him put his back to the basket and make something happen from the post. And then you saw it go away in those last 2 seasons. With Miles Turner, I don't think you ever had that expectation that he's going to come in and be a back-to-the-basket player. But then if he's not going to come in and be the back-to-the-basket player, somebody has to do it outside of Giannis as well. And right now, it doesn't feel like anybody else on this team is really giving the Bucks that opportunity to play that back-to-the-basket style of basketball. And I think later on in the season, that could become detrimental to this Bucks team,
that could be an
we've seen
Achilles
it
heel.
become detrimental to this team in the past. especially if Giannis has to be injured, especially if some of these other guys aren't going to step up in that way. What I'm hoping is that a Bobby Portis can kind of learn how to use his post moves a little better. A Kyle Kuzma is getting more aggressive in the paint lately. So far this season through 9 games, I've been really impressed with what I've
been quietly impressed with Kyle Kuzma. I wanted to trade him as soon as the season started. He shut me up for now. He's looking like who he brought in to be an additional third.
Well, I wouldn't say he's looked like what we wanted to bring him in for, because when we
traded better, he's looked better.
I would say he's looked worse because we traded him for our third option. We traded him for Chris Middleton, a guy who's a Bucks legend. He's going to go into the Bucks Hall of Fame. He's a player that I think meant a lot to this team. And I thought when we traded for a Kyle Kuzma, with the way he has scored in the past, I think a lot of people figured that, he wouldn't get to that level, but he could become a more efficient shooter playing next to a Giannis. And because of Giannis taking so much more attention, it allows Kyle Kuzma to get a lot more open shots. And he just was not hitting those open shots.
More focus in that role.
But that's also what we've seen this year. The change in Kyle Kuzma is something that I was asking for in the playoffs last year too, which is have him come off the bench and kind of be the Walmart brand Giannis Antetokounmpo, where he's going to drive the basket, where he's going to get a lot of foul calls, where he's going to be a help defender because he has the build for that.
True.
And yes, obviously he's not as jacked as Giannis, but Giannis took 8 years to get to this point where he is this physical specimen of just human incredibility.
He's a Greek god.
It's insane. But I think with a Kyle Kuzma coming off the bench in this new role, yes, it's not matching the expectations I think you had for him of being that third option, but he's fitting into a role that this Bucks team really desperately needed, and it's working out to a T. So I think in that facet, he's been impressive, just not in the way that we've expected him to be impressive.
Let me ask you a question, because you're usually very good at asking questions. Do you think with what we're starting to see with Miles Turner, that this team has gone back to allowing Giannis to kind of be the focal point without having the ball in his hand all the time with Ryan Rollins?
I think to some degree, I think just the ball movement of this team is a lot better than we've seen in the past. Yeah. So it's not really that you're allowing Giannis to have more off-ball movement. It kind of like what you're saying. He's not really running a Steph Curry style offense, which is where Steph Curry constantly moves. If you watch the Golden State Warriors game, that's what makes him so
he's
impressive.
A soccer player.
That he never stops. I don't know how that man doesn't pass out on the court every single game, but he's just constantly moving. And I think it's with this Bucks team right now, you're starting to see that rotation come together with all 5 guys that are on the court, not just Giannis. So yeah, I would say we are starting to see Giannis become a little bit of a focal point in different ways on offense than we've seen in the past. But it's more so because everybody is playing a different role than we've seen with this Bucks team in the past.
Much more balanced offense.
Exactly. It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And we are powered by Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor on historic Brady Street, Apollo Cafe. We are asking you, has the Milwaukee Bucks season started off the way you expected? Hit us up at WI Sports Radio on social media, Twitter, YouTube. We are live streaming on there, so you can hit us up on there. Or you can call the Nicolay Law talk and text line 414-677-1250. Again, 414-677-1250 to get on the show that way. Again, has this Milwaukee Bucks season started the way you expected? Jack, I'm going to ask you that same question. I've asked you about specific players, but just as a team, has this gone the way you thought it would?
This is what you want to see. You want to see them pick apart a good Chicago Bulls team that, is kind of
a really good Chicago Bulls team.
Flavor of the week,
Right. But, I mean, if you're talking about the way this Bucks team has been able to spread the ball around, that Bulls team has done it even better to this point.
They've looked very good for a young team.
I don't expect that to last much longer, but they just have a lot of players who can do a lot of things all at once, and they kind of learned how to use those players.
But as a Bulls fan, you're hopeful, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Much more hopeful than I was last season or the season before that. The season before that.
It looks like they our neighbors to the south have put together a better roster this year of guys who actually want to play together. So to me, last night, my hope as a Bucks fan was, hey, we come out. I'm not a huge inside the NBA Cup fan. I think it's, probably a preseason trophy.
I think I'm the only NBA Cup fan on the face of the earth. I love the NBA Cup just because I think it's so funny that the players love it.
I love the memes. I love the color blinding colors off, the mono
Minnesota
colors.
Timberwolves court last night. I'll find a picture of it and I'll put it on the stream for you guys later. It looked like the players were infused with like uranium or something. Green it was.
Green Lantern.
Exactly.
But let's get back to the topic. I really think this was a big stepping stone in where the Bucks need to go this season. It looks like Giannis is already locked in this early, which is very important. I didn't think we'd look, you always know Giannis is going to be competitive. I didn't think it would look this fluid with this team. Miles Turner, to me, last night started to show me what I want to see from him. He was able to get to the lane. He was able to take contact, make difficult shots. We just didn't have that last year. And it showed when we played the Pacers, he ate us alive. So I'm tentatively thinking like, oh, wow, we have made the moves we needed to make as a healthy team. We look very in the East. What do you think? We look like a top 3 team right now. I know it's so early.
And I also don't feel like that's very hard in the East right now. There's only a few healthy teams. So you have the Milwaukee Bucks who are completely healthy right now. Well, not even because Kevin Porter Jr. is out.
Sure.
Excuse me. They're not even completely healthy. The Chicago Bulls are completely healthy, and they're a team that's been playing really well since they've been really healthy. The Cleveland Cavaliers have been semi-healthy. They just got Darius Garland back, but that's going to be a piece that's going to help them out a lot. But besides Darius Garland, they've been really healthy. Outside of that, none of these other teams across the East have A, been healthy, or B, been as impressive as I think
people wanted Orlando to look better.
Orlando looks really not great, which really upsets me. I love the Orlando Magic. That's like my third favorite team.
The Fighting Paulo Bancheros.
Orlando Magic. They have the best theme song ever, too.
They do have a good, and they brought back the pinstripes.
Exactly. Detroit hasn't looked nearly as good as I thought people were expecting, especially the way they ended the season last year. Philadelphia, a team that I think in the past when they've been healthy have been really good, but Joel Embiid doesn't really look like the Joel Embiid we've seen in the past. Jared McCain just came back, though, so that should help them out a little bit. But the Bucks have a really good opportunity right now to take a big lead in this East.
Gain some wins on people.
If this team can go and, I guess, outplay expectations this year, go to the Eastern Conference Finals or beyond maybe, do you think that going into next season, if they were to run it back with the same team, considering the rest of the East would be getting healthy at that point, you'd get a Tyrese Haliburton back in Indiana, you'd get a Jason Tatum back in Boston, some of these other players that are all just getting healthy across the Eastern Conference, do you think that with the same exact roster next year, this Bucks team can reach those same kind of expectations? Or is this solely just because the Eastern Conference doesn't look nearly as good as it has in the past?
It's a little bit of both, which is an easy cop out, but I think we'll break it down. So yes, is the playing field for the East to be a top elite team? Look, as long as we stay healthy, we'll be a top 3 seed. And that's, to me, I know a lot of fans might not want to hear that. Let's get to the playoffs. Let's be a top 3 seed and be healthy for once in the playoffs, where I don't have to worry about how many games are we going without Giannis, how many games, Ryan Rollins steps into this role, how many games are we going to miss Ryan Rollins? Luckily, knock on wood over here. I'm very happy. I want to see us be very healthy before the All-Star break. And then we can look back on here and be like, oh yeah, we knew they were going to be great. They were throwing teams around. And to me, this is a game at a time. It's so early right now. You just want to see them play well. And up to my expectations of what we should be doing, Giannis looks like he's ready to will us to a title this year.
Yeah, this rate, he's going to win another MVP.
Yeah.
I know Victor Wembanyama has been so good, and some of these other players across the league have just been carrying their teams as well. But Giannis, man, he just looks like a man on a mission.
The jump shot turnaround he hit against, I didn't think he had that in his bag this year. Wow.
It's nuts. And again, I think I said this on Wisconsin Sports Daily too. I think that the other big thing with Giannis right now that we're seeing as well is that he's taking those shots with more confidence, I think. And you've only seen him take the one against Indiana so far. But I think the past few years, you've had a Damian Lillard be the guy in those moments to take those types of shots. You've had a Chris Middleton in the past take those types of shots. And I think that Giannis, even though he has taken those types of shots in the past, never took them at the same volume that he's going to this year.
Yeah.
And him taking those shots this year is only going to add on to that confidence that he's built so far. And I think he's going to make those shots more often. I think later on in games, he's going to be the guy that the Bucks are going to lean on in the clutch, which is how it should have been for the past 8 seasons that he's been at this level of play that we've seen. But at the same time, you've had players that are meant for that. Chris Middleton, Cash Money.
That's
the
what I was just
reason
going
he
to
has
say.
that nickname is because he's Cash Money in the clutch. Damian Lillard, Dame Time is Dame Time because he's just that good in the clutch. He hits the wrist, and that's how you know. I mean, so it's hard to wrap your mind around this idea that Giannis, despite being one of the greatest players in the world, again, for the past 8 seasons, hasn't felt like he's had his own team to that point. It's always been, we need to find something else for Giannis. Everybody said he's a Batman who needs a Robin, and I don't think he's a Batman. He's a Superman And people need to start treating him like he's a
yes.
Superman.
Yes.
Superman can do things on his own. Superman fights some of the biggest villains in the world on his own.
I think you're right. He's definitely the Man of Steel. He, in a lot of ways, the game is different now than when Shaq played, but he dominates like Shaq
and
did.
what makes Giannis different from Shaq is that Shaq at one point in his career said he was done.
Yeah.
He said, like, I don't need to get any better. This is as good as I am going to get, that I'm willing to get, and I don't, like, nobody can stop me. Now I could be 38 years old and still be a big body force in the paint that nobody can stop. Giannis every year gets better at something.
Constantly honing his skills. You hear it in interviews, and a lot of people say, oh, he goes back to Europe and he's just on Greece. That man is cooking up a storm in the gym. If you think the same dude who was selling peanuts and sharing basketball shoes with his brothers with holes in them is taking it off in summer, no, this man's in the gym. This man's working on his shot. And everyone last year, oh, he's been working on the free throw. Oh, I don't see it. Look, relax. RELAX. This man is putting it in all the work that you expect from an elite NBA player. And it's starting to show early on that Giannis might have just hit another gear.
That's what it feels like. Turner on YouTube, if you want to be like Turner, you can get on here at WI Sports Radio. Comments in the dugout chat. Doc was in his bag with the lineups. Two bigs on the court most times. Love the Sims minutes. His gravity on the court will pair well with KPJ. Bobby back to playing the 4 helped him a lot, in my opinion. I'm with you. I like Jericho Sims. I said this a lot during the trade deadline last year, that I was really happy they went out and got him because he was just an athletic player who can go out there and eat up a lot of athletic minutes for you. He's going to give 100%. Yeah, he can't do a whole lot, but he's going to go up and eat minutes. I think that as much as I was happy with his level of play, I would like that Bobby Portis can just be the 4 and the 5, though, that 4/5. I'm really kind of frustrated sometimes with the way that Bobby Portis plays that center position. And I understand that he is naturally a 4, but he's been at that backup center position for a while now, at least 3 seasons. So for him to, I guess, regress as much as I feel like he's had, especially, again, I know defensively he's never been that guy, but to regress as much as he had at that center position, just in the skill set that revolves around that, has been semi-frustrating. And I think this is a team where Jericho Sims shouldn't have to get backup minutes.
You're right.
And right now he's getting backup minutes,
which is sometimes a good thing. I'll point out what Turner says here. Shout out to Kuz and MT. Great to see Kuz looking happy out there. Post game said he realizes defense and hustle will keep him on the court. I think he's bought in. Turner's right. He has bought in, and you like to see it because we do. Charlie kind of alluded to this. You do need, in some aspects, a third guy who can either be in the starting lineup or in the 7 rotation, and give you not only minutes, but can kind of give you what we needed to complement a Giannis or complement a Miles Turner. And I think Kuzma, as long as he's giving you 3 and D, that's all you need.
Right. We got to get to a quick break here. We've been talking for a long time about this Milwaukee Bucks team. If you'd like to be like Turner, get on at WI Sports Radio on YouTube or on Twitter to join us the show that way. He says Sims can guard the 1 through 5. I agree. Bobby Portis at the 5 is Swiss cheese as a defender. I'm with you as well. Sims can guard the 1 through 5 against a team like the Chicago Bulls, whose starting point guard is 6'8". Like, that's Josh Giddey is a huge player. So yeah, it's a lot easier for him to guard the point there. And then Nick Vucevic isn't really the toughest player in the paint as a center, at least defensively. Offensively, he's got a little bit of finesse to him, but he's not going to bully a lot of players in the paint. That's a game where Jericho Sims can really strive. I think there's also teams in the league, though, where he can't guard a 1 through 3 because they're going to be quicker than him. They're going to be more athletic than him, and he's going to kind of over pursue a little bit. Those are things you have to worry about. So I think in certain situations, yes, he can come in and guard that 1 through 5 and be that type of player, but that's not an all the time situation. It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. When we come back, we're going to dive into the Green Bay Packers and discuss the importance of this Monday Night Football game against the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm Charlie Uczen. That's Jack Pembroke. We're Wisconsin Sports Weekend. We will be right back. Welcome back in, folks, to Wisconsin Sports Weekend. I'm Charlie Uczen. That's my guy, Jack Pembroke, on the other side of the glass there. And we are powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook here at the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios. And we are also powered by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to us today. If you missed that first segment, we were discussing the Milwaukee Bucks and their big win over the Chicago Bulls yesterday. And if this season has started the way you expected it to for the Bucks and Giannis and Ryan Rollins and AJ Green and Miles Turner and all these great players that have been stepping up doing their jobs so far at the beginning of the season. We did want to move on over to the NFL, though, and discuss a little Monday Night Football where the Green Bay Packers will be taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. I will be at that game. If you guys are also going to be at that game, I'd love to meet some of you. I don't know if you guys think I'm that cool or anything, but like I'd love to go out and take some pictures with you guys. You know,
Charlie's
fun,
the
right?
gentle giant.
Exactly. That's what I've been called before. I'm gonna be wearing a hat that says Beans. It's gonna be a yellow.
Can't miss
hat.
him.
Yep, it should be pretty easy to find me.
About 6'4", 6'5", with a bean hat on.
Hey, that's generous. I would say closer to 6'3". You know,
you and my brother are both alike. You guys are like tall 6'3" and and you won't even say 6'4".
No,
we'll give you 6'4" in cleats.
That's because in football and athlete days, they used to measure you down to that 3/4.
Socks, baby.
Nick says you got another ticket. I'd love to be at the game, Nick. I don't have another ticket, my man. I'm sorry. I'll send you some really great videos. I'll put it in our fantasy football chat. Don't worry. But we wanted to dive into that game a little bit. This is a game against the defending Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, who have a player in Saquon Barkley, who's one of the best running backs in the league, one of the best offensive lines in the league, one of the best wide receiver rooms in the league, one of the best young defenses in the NFL right now. It is going to be a battle. They're 2-0 before the bye. Then they had a bye week. They went into the trade deadline and basically traded for everybody on earth to bring into the Philadelphia Eagles. Jair Alexander's an Eagle now. Jalen Phillips, former pass rusher for the Dolphins, is an Eagle now. This is a team that went out and just kind of bought in to try to make sure their team is ready for another run here, which means Monday Night Football is not going to be an easy matchup for the Green Bay Packers. Jack, I just want to start with your expectations for this game. What are you expecting from the Green Bay Packers offense going up against a young and athletic defense that has a couple new players against it that they haven't seen before or just haven't seen in this situation before?
I don't know what to think from week to week now with this Packers team. It's tale of two cities, you know. There are weeks where I'm just like, wow, this offense looks great. We can get down the field. And then there's times where I'm like, what is Matt LaFleur doing in the red zone? It's like Brett Bielema back with the Badgers. We're running. We get down in the red zone and it's like, hey, let's have a really cute screenplay that looks like a jet sweep here that goes for negative yards. We did it twice in that game. So to me, what I want to see out of this Packers team is dance with the girl who brought you there. Run the rock early. Let our quarterback get confident. And then when it comes time, I mean, we've been looking at these stats. You got to let the man sling. You paid him.
Right. I think with the run game and going back to what happened in the red zone, I've thought about this a lot as well. They've asked Matt LaFleur throughout this past week about the red zone struggles against the Carolina Panthers. And he's just come out and said, you know what? Before this week, we've been pretty successful in the red zone. We have been able to hit on some of these plays that we're trying that maybe didn't work against the Panthers. They had a really good game plan. We got out game planned. I got out coached. We need to be better. That's the thing. We can't dwell on it, but we also have to make sure it gets fixed in this upcoming week, which is something that I kind of agree with. I think one of my biggest frustrations with this team, and I know it's a lot of Packers fans and Packers writers' biggest frustrations with this team, is that the run blocking is just atrocious. And I'd love to get Josh Jacobs more involved. But when you're the Carolina Panthers and you have Derek Brown just eating up every single offensive lineman he goes up against on that Packers offensive line, and he can just stuff any play when it's within 10 yards, how can Josh Jacobs get anything going? He's tried. He's run really hard. Before this game including this game last week, he scores touchdown in 16 of his last 17 games. Like he's been that good. He scores for the majority of the time. It's just about getting that consistently, but I think that relies on the offensive line at the end of the day, Jack.
Yeah, I think as a former lineman, you know what the heck you're talking about. And I think just the eye test this year, we've obviously been a bit of a patchwork quilt along the line. It's one of our favorite sayings on the show. you need more consistency up front if you're going to rely, like you said, that this offense starts first with the run and then opens up the pass game. Another thing that, I don't really want to wallow on because it's still very sad, and I'd run to a hospital and give him my working right knee right now, but you're going to have to figure out how to fill the void that is Tucker Kraft on this offense. And it seemed to me when we were able to successfully run with Jacobs, you were able to hit Tucker Kraft for all these different routes in the route tree, and you were able to expose defenses. And I just don't think we have someone who is as physical and athletic as him. But I think Musgrave, he's saying that he wants to prove that there's a reason he's on this team and that he was drafted first. I think you're going to have to find 2 to 3 players that kind of take on that role, because we just don't have another Tucker Kraft. So something's got to give. We're going to have to either get better in run blocking and pass protection, because it seems like it's an uphill battle with losing that guy now.
Well, and the pass protection has been there, so I'm not as worried about the pass pro. With Tucker Kraft, losing him, you brought up those screens that they're running in the red zone in these plays. Those are the plays that were designed for him, that he makes things happen with. He doesn't get tackled on that first contact. He will make sure to drive through that person and get a second person to take him down in those situations. And when you have that, you're right, it does open up the run game a little bit more. My problem is that this pass game is extremely talented. That wide receiver room is very deep, and I know they're hurting right now. I know that Christian Watson is just coming back from this injury, and he's still not 100%, but in the 2 games he's played, he's made big plays in both those games. I know he's questionable going into this one. He's dealing with, again, a little soreness. He'll be fine. Yeah. He'll be good. You have a Romeo Doubs who's been really sure-handed this season. Every time they've relied on him, he's come up and been the guy there. It's just that they haven't relied on him a lot. Luke Musgrave has a lot of talent. When he gets into that open field, I have a lot of faith that he can make a catch. It's about what he does after the catch. It's about if he can get into that open field in the first place. There's a lot of things that I think are hinging on the pass game in this one. And I think the biggest thing that's hinging on the pass game is Matt LaFleur's confidence in this offense, and making sure that over the course of the past 3 or 4 weeks, I think we've steadily seen Jordan Love grow in confidence and Matt LaFleur grow in confidence in Jordan Love. And I think this is a game where we could see Matt LaFleur kind of freak out a little bit and take that all that confidence he gave to Jordan Love, or that he has in Jordan Love, away from Jordan Love, because he's a little worried that we do need to go back to the basics, that we do need to go back to the run game, when in reality, you need to trust that Jordan Love can make plays, because he can. He's a guy who will go out there and be a stud if you let him be a stud. I think sometimes you rein him back too much and it gets into Jordan's head a little bit.
I think that's a great point. Q is saying, I have no expectations for this team. They take any given Sunday to the extreme. No consistency, no identity, no leadership to right the ship. Wow, Q is living Mudville extreme right now.
Q's also like one of the biggest haters of Matt LaFleur of all time and everything. So Q, I get what you're saying, but this is something that Sparky said. A lot of other people have been saying, because this is a point that's been brought up. Ryan Clark was on First Take the other day and said this basically same exact thing, that it doesn't feel like the Packers can go out there and beat everybody, and it doesn't feel like that they are unbeatable on the same side of things. And I think that with this Green Bay Packers squad, what you need to realize is that they're not the only ones in the league that are like this right now. The Eagles can be beat by anybody any given day. That's what it feels like.
So I looked up the Broncos schedule and record. Oh my God, it's like the Vikings of 2 years ago that won every game by 3 to 6 points.
Right. That's how a lot of teams are winning games nowadays. Though. Like Kansas City Chiefs haven't looked unbeatable like they have. The Buffalo Bills have not looked unbeatable like they have in the past. The Indianapolis Colts are one of the best damn teams in the NFL right now. Are you kidding me? Like, does that make any sense to you?
Indiana Jones, baby.
Everybody is playing this game this season like it's any given Sunday, Q.
It's true.
It's every team is playing football like that. And it's weird. It's frustrating that the Packers are doing that, because it feels like they were one of those teams that could separate themselves from
They're on the verge.
But it would be different if the Eagles and Chiefs and Bills were separating themselves from the pack. But they're not either. They're right there in the pack with the Packers.
So what I want to see from this game is, because this is me just thinking back the last 5 years with this team, can we immediately stop the run on third down early in the game? Because that's what it's going to come down to. I'm not afraid of A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith going crazy on us for passing.
I would be a little bit.
Really? I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it from the Eagles.
No, but that's also they're winning games without doing
they're
that.
winning games
Which
with
is
Dallas Goedert and their run game.
Like, if something's working, you're not going to go away from it. And
True.
I think in a game like this is very easily one of those moments where they could go, all right, AJ Brown, this is a 10-catch, 130-yard performance.
He has a 38 point.
He does that.
Yeah.
That's what his career has been, especially with the Eagles. It's like 3 weeks of doing nothing, and then has like 3 weeks of having the best season.
He looks like Terrell Owens in Dallas.
You could say the same thing for Devontae Smith, if we're being honest, too. He has those like 3-week periods, and this feels like one of those games where the Eagles just switch their offense and can just do that. But that's because that's part of their game plan. The Packers need to start taking that type of approach because, again, it feels like they just want to do like, we want to run the ball this game.
We have a vanilla formula and we're sticking to the vanilla formula.
And it's not even, I guess, that it's vanilla all the time. It's that they have this plan and they feel like they need 8 weeks to execute that plan all the time. And then if it's not working that way, it's kind of just goes into freak out mode a little bit. The Eagles have a plan for like each week, and they go and execute that plan each week. And that's what they need to do. Feels like the Packers are always playing for the future. And that's what I'm kind of, I guess, confused about, because this team is a now team. This league is a now league right now.
The window is not very large in this league.
And
you have 4 or 5 years. That's it.
It feels weird to say that this Packers team, with Matt LaFleur, the type of criticism that he's getting, Jordan Love with the type of criticism that he's getting, and the fact that I feel like they don't look as good as their record says they are, should light the fire under the butt of this Packers team a little bit and come out into this game where they can come here and win. And against an Eagles team that is very good and is the defending Super Bowl champs, and that is going to be a tough game, but you can go out here and dominate. But they can also come out here and out game plan you and outplay you if you let them.
Personally, my brother, she's a nice woman, but he married an Eagles fan. And so for my mental health, I need this win. I do not want to get invaded with text messages from Delco and Delaware and Philadelphia telling me that the Pack ain't back.
There you go. You heard it. Jack needs this one to avoid his phone blowing up. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. In the next segment, we're quickly going to go through and hand out some midseason awards for the Green Bay Packers. If you'd want to join in on that, hit us up on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line, 414-677-1250. Again, 414-677-1250-1250. Or you can hop in on the YouTube chat, the Twitter chat. Both of those are live and going right now. We got guys like Turner and Q hopping on the YouTube chat, hitting us up on there, asking questions. Be just like them at WI Sports Radio. And you can follow us up on social media at WI Sports Radio on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all the fun places. We are there. I'm Charlie Uczen. That's Jack Pembroke. We will be right back. Welcome back into Wisconsin Sports Weekend. I'm Charlie Uczen. That is Jack Pembroke over there. We are live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. If you missed that last segment, we were discussing the Green Bay Packers in their Monday Night Football matchup with the Philadelphia Eagles. If you tune into the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network right after that game, immediately after that game, the intro is going to pop on right away after that last whistle. You're going to hear the Green Bay Football post-game show presented by Lakeland University with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer and Tommy Wirtz, where they're going to go through, break down every bit of that game, give you their immediate reactions, whether it's good, whether it's bad. It's usually pretty funny when it's bad, so if you want to hear Sparky start screaming about random things, it's awesome. You'll have to tune in for that. If it's a win, Tommy gets super fired up, so you'll hear them all fired up there. It's just great. They'll let you hear the sound from the coaches, the players after the game. Lots of great stuff happening there at the Green Bay Football postgame show presented by Lakeland University right here on Wisconsin Sports Radio Network immediately after Monday night's Packers game. We wanted to dive in real quick here, and we only have a little bit of time to do this, but we wanted to hand out some mid-season awards for the Green Bay Packers now that the NFL trade deadline has passed. The Packers did not make any big, exciting moves at the trade deadline, so it's kind of hard to talk about that with them. But Jack, halfway through the season here, we've seen a lot of players step up. We've seen some players be a little bit disappointing. But if you had to go out there, and let's start with the easiest one, give an MVP to the first half of the season for this Packers team, who would be your MVP?
Oh, it's sad because he's not playing anymore, but Tucker Kraft. You have to give it to him. He was the engine that could on offense. And man, it's hard when the fans love a guy and he just really embodies the image and kind of the feelings of your fans and your team. And he's just a tough guy. So it's hard to lose that, but he would be my offensive MVP.
Right. I get that. And I think Tucker Kraft, just overall, like you said, the engine of this team really just got things going that I think to a level that people thought he maybe could, but not this early on into the season. And I don't think the Packers did either, because that first game where he went nuts, they didn't really feed him for a couple games after that. I know he was dealing with the knee soreness after that game as well, and that was part of the reason they didn't really continue to feed him that way. But from that point on, the past 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks, I guess, because last week was the fatal injury there for him. But I think that with Tucker Kraft, you saw the Packers just get so much more confident in him and want to just feed him the ball. Turner puts out there, rest in peace, in a better place. If you guys saw Romeo Dobbs's interview after it, you would think that Tucker Kraft died. Like that's how he was talking about it. It was hilarious. I think Tucker probably got a good kick out of that. Romeo Dobbs is like one of the funniest players on the team. Also, it's like underrated, funniest player on the team. If we want to talk about just kind of overall MVP for this team, and I know Tucker Kraft has been phenomenal, but man, Micah Parsons is just that guy. And you've seen the effect that he's had on that defensive side of the ball and what he's just brought to this team and what it's brought to guys like Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness when he's healthy, Devontae Wyatt. The linebackers seem a little bit more confident. Now, I think with the linebackers, that kind of hurts them a little bit because they hit the wrong gaps a lot. They're doing kind of boneheaded things that you've seen Quay Walker do before, but not really Adrian Cooper. It's starting to see that youth shining through because I think they feel so much more confident with Micah Parsons. Jack, would you agree that Micah Parsons is probably the overall MVP of this team?
Yeah, I think my dark horse would probably be Evan Williams if you're not going with Micah Parsons. But yeah, Micah Parsons has come in here and it's like the Infinity Gauntlet. We got the final stone on defense, and it's just in a lot of ways, he's just given us the ability to do things we haven't been able to do.
Right. I get that. And Evan Williams would be up there a little bit for me, except for at the end of that game last week where Rico Dowdle had the 18-yard run to ice the game, basically. Evan Williams flew down into the hole and played the opposite hole of where Rico Dowdle was running and basically left it wide open for him to run through there. So that drops him down a little. That really frustrated me. I hate when players do that, especially when they have an assigned gap to hit.
He does make some amazing plays, and then there's some head scratchers.
All right. It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and we're presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar, a flavor right there on historic Brady Street. When we come back after this next break at the top of the 10 o'clock hour, we're going to talk with Payne Blazevich of Badger 24/7 to discuss Badger football coaching updates and some Badger basketball. Like I said, it's Wisconsin Sports Weekend. I'm Charlie Uczen. That's Jack Pembroke. We will be right back.
Hit the shower. Grab your coffee. And get ready to attack the weekend with Charlie Uczen and Jack Pembroke as they catch you up on everything Wisconsin sports you may have missed this past week. All before you even finish your breakfast. It's Wisconsin Sports Weekend, brought to you by the Apollo Cafe on Brady Street. 25 years of Greek tradition. Enjoy gyros, souvlaki, fresh salads, and the legendary Zeus burger. Dine in, take out, or get it delivered. Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
How we doing, folks? How we doing? I'm Charlie Uczen. That's my guy, Jack Pembroke, on the other side of the glass. There's the big voice lady just said, and we are Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sports Weekend. We are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. If you guys are just tuning in, this is the second hour of Wisconsin Sports Weekend. If you missed any of the first hour, feel free to rewind on YouTube, on Twitter, where we're live streaming both of these. You can also head back and anywhere you listen to podcasts, and after the show will be up in that form as well, so you can hear all the first hour there, where we talk some Milwaukee Bucks and a little bit of the Green Bay Packers as they take on the Eagles on Monday Night Football. Joining us now is my guy Payne lazevich of Badger 24/7. He is on YouTube. He is on Twitter. You can see him on there talking with us. Payne, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing really good, man. Thanks again for having me on. It's always a pleasure to join you guys, and it's a great day. We got some basketball last night, got some football later today. It's going to be a lot of fun this weekend.
So we'll go to basketball second because that makes me a little happier. It's a little bit more fun to watch right now. Let's start with the stuff that makes us sad first, Payne. Yesterday, Chris McIntosh video interview that he did with Jesse Temple came out where he doubled down on this idea that Luke Fickell is going to be the Badgers head coach next season, no matter what, at least going into the season, that they've bought into him, that the chancellor is planning on giving them more money, that there's going to be more money flowing into this. I just really want to ask you a simple question here first. How much did you buy into what Chris McIntosh was trying to sell in that interview?
I don't know. It's hard for me to get along with this plan, not knowing any of the specifics. And I think that's been a complaint from across the fan base. We've heard it plenty, but there's been a lot of talk of upping the investment, upping the infrastructure for this program, but it's kind of hard to know exactly what they mean when we're not getting specifics. Where is this money coming from? And why wasn't it coming in the first place? I think that's another question that a lot of folks have. So I don't know. I guess we'll watch and see, but without specific detailed plan, it's hard for me to really buy in and understand what the process is here.
So yesterday when McIntosh was talking in that interview, he brought up that like wins and losses aren't really a big deal to him and this team right now. What did that mean to you? Because I think a lot of people kind of took that as a loser approach to where that's not the focus. We can't worry about that right now. But I don't know if that's really how Chris McIntosh meant it. How did you take that?
Yeah, so I was listening in on when Chris McIntosh did his interview yesterday on ESPN Madison, and he corrected himself a little bit. But I think the problem for me is that even though he might have misspoke in saying that wins and losses don't matter, and that's not entirely what he meant, the problem is that when Luke Fickell was brought into this program, the goal was to win conference, maybe even national championships. Like that was the standard, and that was kind of what they were pushing for the expectation to eventually become. To be here in year 3, potentially going into year 4, and we're talking about how, it can't be the result, what happens on the scoreboard, that can't necessarily be the determination of success. That's kind of where the problem is, at least for me. I don't look at it as they don't care about wins or they're complacent with where they're at. That's not the way that I took it, but I'm still concerned that we're talking about needing to see progress beyond the scoreboard, right, to see some growth. Like that's where I'm worried.
Payne, always good to have you on the show. I'm going to really get down in the gutter here. How is this team supposed to compete with us not having Badger grades come in as much or be involved with the program as much? And then, like you said, our plan was to continue Big Ten wins, to compete for a national, maybe not a national championship, but to compete as one of the teams in the national playoff. And now it seems like we've become Indiana of 10 years ago as a football program. And who knows, maybe the basketball program is getting better. But I guess, what do you want to see from the end of this season to next year to know that we're somewhat improving?
I think the biggest thing for me, and I'll just start with the end of this season, I, for one, want to see some of that fire. And we saw a little bit of that with some of those young guys. I look at Mason Posa, Cooper Catalano, the inside linebackers in the middle. I want to see that fire across the board. And we've seen glimpses of that, but I want to see it sustained through these final 4 games. I also want to see just some greater consistency, cutting down on the disaster plays, the disaster turnovers, the blocked kicks, the penalties, just some of those moments that are completely and entirely preventable. I just want to see those start to be cut down and there start to be some momentum there. But as we look into next season, this team needs to, I hesitate to say make a splash at quarterback, because I want them to just get the right player. It doesn't need to be the biggest name, doesn't need to be the most expensive guy, but I want to see this team get a quarterback that is dependable, capable, and a guy that this offense can lean on. That for me is the most important thing going into next year. And also, these guys have to stay healthy. You're best when you have your best players on the field. That to me is second only to having a great quarterback, is being able to have a dependable roster each week, because the injuries have been pretty ridiculous this season. Right. And some of it is not preventable. Some of it's out of your control. But if you can have a capable quarterback and have a relatively healthy roster, that improves you miles from where you're at this season.
I'm glad you brought that up, because it's been, it feels like 100 years since we got Russell Wilson to come be a Badger. And I thought when I was in school then, oh, great, this is great. We're going to be able to build a line, build a running game, and always get an athletic quarterback that can come in and kind of give us some athletic plays outside of the huddle and also throw the ball down the field. And it seems like it's been impossible for the Badgers to win at the quarterback position since then. And I'm just hoping we find someone.
That's sort of the quest that so many teams are on this year. It's kind of been crazy to see the amount of teams that are struggling to find dependable quarterback play. And then you look at programs like Ole Miss, where they go to their first, second, third string, and they're rolling guys out, moving the ball easy down the field. So it's a little bit of a crapshoot, especially in the portal. You got to hope that, maybe true freshman Carter Smith is a guy that you can depend upon, might have a chance to see him today. And if the staff feels like he can be a guy that they can build around, that definitely saves you the trouble of needing to bring in a new player into the system. But it's certainly a challenge. Wisconsin's not the only team that's facing it, but it's definitely some area that they need to see some growth.
He is Payne lazevich of Badger 24/7. You can follow at Badger 24/7 on Twitter. You can also follow Payne at Payne lazevich on Twitter as well. You brought up Carter Smith there. What should expectations be for this true freshman quarterback, a guy that's truly one of the highest rated quarterbacks that the Badgers have been able to bring in a while now? What should the expectations be for him throughout the last 4 games of the season here? And then do you have any expectation for him to, if he does play well in those 4 games, truly stick around through a coaching staff that may not make it through all the way of 2026? Or is this a situation where we're seeing the traditional NIL kind of transfer portal world that we've seen across college sports lately take place with Wisconsin Badgers, and we lose another big name quarterback because he plays well for 4 games here?
Yeah, so my personal expectation is I don't have a high expectation for Carter Smith, just because I feel like if he's a guy that they felt like they could start immediately,
they would have done
he should have been starting earlier. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that if he comes on the field, he's not going to play well. I certainly think there's an opportunity for him to have success, especially if he's schemed around a little bit, not making things too complicated for him, maybe simplifying the playbook just a little bit to scheme some easier throws to kind of get him in rhythm. And most importantly, there's an avenue for him to get the ball in his playmaker's hands without needing to extend the field, without needing to make things too overly complicated. So I definitely think there is room for him to have success, but I'm not laying all my eggs in the Carter Smith basket and then getting myself disappointed. But if he plays well these next couple of games, I think there's absolutely a means to build around him. And I think that is going to be the true spark momentum for this team and for this fan base going into the offseason. So if he has success in these next couple of games, it definitely needs to be an emphasis to keep him around, to sort of sell him on the vision of this program, because he needs to be a guy that you can depend on.
For sure. Payne, outside of a Carter Smith in these last 4 games, what other skill position players are you watching? The running back room is a little bit dry right now. You've seen some injuries take hold of that space. The wide receiver room is very young. You got guys like other true freshmen like Eugene Hilton coming in, and he's had his moments earlier in the season. You saw the tight end room get a little bit involved, and it feels like that's kind of fallen off a cliff. What are your expectations for these last 4 games to kind of see what the Badgers have to experiment with?
Yeah, my focus, at least for today, is going to be on Gideon Ituka. I thought looked very impressive against a stout Oregon defensive front. I feel like he saw the field pretty well, was popping consistent runs, and has had the longest run from a Wisconsin running back to date so far. So I'm curious to see if he sort of maintains that momentum, kind of keeps that rolling. And I think if you can see him continue to sort of pound away on the ground, there's a chance that he is the guy in the running back room next season. So that's what I'm watching. I also think you mentioned Eugene Hilton Jr. He's a guy that sort of has that explosive big play potential. I'm curious if he's going to have some more opportunities to make a play downfield. I think it'd be those two guys, looking at younger guys, that I think could definitely have a chance to make an impact with a big play or two today.
This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Uczen, that's Jack Pembroke over there, and we're talking with Payne lazevich of at Badger 24/7. You can follow them on Twitter there. You can also follow Payne on Twitter at Payne lazevich. I think you are the most excited about Badger basketball that I've seen anybody on Twitter be excited about Badger basketball. You're retweeting everything. You're tweeting all the updates. I'm following you. That's how I get most of my information, especially for some of these mid-major games that they're playing here. But last night was a game that I was really excited to watch, actually, because I wanted to see what a lot of these other guys could do. In that first game of the season against Campbell, you saw John Blackwell kind of do his thing and be able to go out there and do what we've seen John Blackwell be able to do. But in this game, you saw some of those transfer portal guys. Nick Boyd came out and had an awesome game. He's one of the oldest people in college basketball right now, but that could help lead to that experience that we're seeing play out on the court in these first couple of games. How excited are you about Nick Boyd and some of these other transfer portal guys that have come in for this Badger basketball team?
Yeah, no, that group has been electric, and you're seeing each of those guys find a way to make an impact. Nick Boyd, of course, was the big one, but Austin Rapp had himself a great game in Wisconsin's first game against Campbell. You've seen Andrew Rohde come in and make some plays on both sides of the floor. That group is going to have a lot of success, and they're going to be players that Wisconsin is going to depend on greatly. But after Wisconsin's first game against Campbell, Greg Gard said it was going to be different guys on different nights. Game 1, it was John Blackwell. Game 2, I think it was Nick Boyd's night. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that, especially as he gets more comfortable, as he's sort of playing in the system. But this team is unique in that I think they have several different players that can come in and have themselves their game on any specific night.
I think you make a great point, Payne. Watching some of these games, you definitely feel like they have a formula to go out and find a point guard that can come in and be not only a system player, but can put up some points. I'm not trying to be sacrilegious here, but it feels like we got a little bit of a Devin Harris and Nick Boyd. Maybe not as athletically skilled, but he can get to the rim and he can score in bunches. I mean, he had 20 in the first half last night. So I'm excited to see that the Badgers, unlike our football counterparts, can go out in the portal and find people to plug and play. And they're not just good. They're very good.
Yeah, Greg Gard has had a demonstrated skill of being able to grab a portal player and have them immediately make an impact. And it feels to me like Nick Boyd is the guy to do that. And he's not just a scorer in a way that like maybe John Tonje was. He really can direct and lead on the floor. But his ability, like you said, to just make a cut and go get to the hoop and finish at the rim is outstanding, I think. And it's going to be such an important asset as this team starts to face those high major programs, as they get into Big Ten play. I think that ability to get to the basket paired with John Blackwell's sort of, skill in creating his own shot. It's going to be such an advantage for this team. And we're starting to see that build. They frankly haven't played on the same side of the floor that much. They played against each other a lot in practice over the summer and fall. They're only a couple of games into sharing a backcourt together. So I think we'll see sort of that dynamic improve and grow as this season carries on. But those two players, I think, can make a world of difference for this offense.
Way too early question for a prediction from you, but does this team as it stands right now, does it give you the confidence to go out and compete against a Michigan State and a Purdue?
When they're playing at their best, I think it's going to be really hard for anybody to stop this team. Like you can see just the pace and the flow that this team can have on the offensive end. I think we need to see some growth defensively, and they're showing improvement game to game. And I think we'll continue to see that. But when this team sort of hits its flow, hits its rhythm, we saw it in that, what was it, like 31-4 run to close the game against Campbell. We saw it at the beginning of the game against Northern Illinois last night. When they sort of find that spark and get into their rhythm, I think this team is going to be really tough to stop. I've been really excited about the pace and the momentum that this group can have when they're playing at their best.
Well, I'm glad you're prescribing good medicine for Badger basketball fans.
Payne,
I'm not trying to be too optimistic, but it's hard to get excited, not get excited about this group.
Good.
Payne, I got one more question for you over here before we let you go. You brought up Greg Gard's ability to kind of turn these transfer portal players into immediate kind of success stories here for this Wisconsin Badgers team. Do you think that's directly just because it's 5 guys on a court, 12 guys on a roster? It's a lot easier to work with that limited number of players versus like the football team where we're getting on Luke Fickell for not being able to develop players or not being able to bring in a strong enough transfer portal class. But in comparison, that's 11 guys on a field, at least 60 guys on a roster. I mean, there's a lot more challenge there. Is it solely because the field is so much smaller that Greg Gard is able to do that? Or is there something else to what he does as a coach that Luke Fickell could learn from?
I think it's kind of a two-parter. Like in basketball, it's a little bit easier to translate skill sets because it can be a little bit more of an individual game, especially guys that are more apt scorers like a John Tonje. But there are also, teams that bring in transfers that they're expecting to have a huge impact where that success doesn't translate. So it's not just seeing a good player and going and getting a good player. Greg Gard has a good understanding of the guys that he wants, who can fit well into a system, sort of the personalities that he likes. John Tonje was a little bit of a mild-mannered, mature guy, and we see a lot of that in Nick Boyd too, I think, and some of the younger guys that they brought in through the portal this season. But I think Greg Gard has a good sense of, obviously, the culture of his program and who can be a good fit and who can be additive to that culture. And we haven't really seen a huge misstep in that. And I think this season is sort of going to be a continuation of, they brought in multiple guys that they're expecting to contribute, and we've seen them contribute so far.
Awesome. No better person to keep up with Badger basketball with than Payne Blazevich over there. We'll get him on later in the season to kind of keep up with that, especially as we get into Big Ten play here. I'm really excited for this basketball season. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It feels like there's expectations to this team that weren't there last season, and now it's going to be something where if they can be successful, it's going to be almost a Cinderella run, hopefully. So that's kind of where we're feeling right now, especially with how bad the football team is.
If Payne can come on once a month and give us good news and keep us deep into March, that's all I care about, Payne.
That's what matters.
I'd be more than happy, guys.
Thank you so much for coming on, my man. We'll have to get you on in the future, as always.
Hey, it's always a pleasure. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Of course. There he is, Payne Blazevich of Badger 24/7. You can follow him on Twitter at Payne Blazevich, PayneBlazevich. Real easy.
Can I buy a vowel?
No, you can't. I think we're out of vowels. I think we went through all of them in that. He's always awesome. One of my favorites to have on the show to talk Wisconsin sports. Again, if you wanted to rewind that, you missed any of that on YouTube, on Twitter, you can get on there and rewind the show back that way as well. It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Uczen, that's Jack Pembroke, and we are powered by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. When we come back, it'll be time for War Locks. Locks, one of our favorite segments here, and Jack is going to make some magic happen once again. I'm Charlie Uczen. That's Jack Pembroke. We will be right back. How we doing, folks? How we doing? We're going to get rid of that. We're going to turn up this a little bit because we're going to get a little mystical, a little magical, Jack, because it is Wisconsin Sports Weekend. And this is Warlocks Locks, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Ooh, he's got some mystical sports balls in there as well now. That's what I was going to say. Never mind. It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. Like I said, I'm Charlie Uczen. That is Jack, the Wisconsin Warlock, Pembroke over there. And if you are brand new to Warlocks Locks, Jack will dive into his magical cheese head over there and draw 4 cards. Each of those 4 cards has a different player on it from one sport that we pick each week, and Jack will make a fantasy prediction for each of those players. It could be good. It could be bad. You could maybe say that guy only gets 2 points. That guy gets 40 points.
Start, sit, or stash.
Exactly. It's anything and all in between. This week, we are going back to basketball because we had plenty of basketball packs left. Maybe next week, we'll dive back into football. We'll see. We'll see what we're feeling, what packs look the coolest. Jack, pull out your first card there and let us know what you're thinking.
Had a fumble there.
Oh, scary. Maybe that's a bad luck.
Jeremy Grant.
All right, let's head on over to Jeremy Grant, who plays for Portland. He is a player that I think was expected to have a little bit of a bigger role with them last season when they initially made that move. But since then, just hasn't really been the impact player that I think we've seen from him with other teams. Jeremy Grant looks like last game had 20 points in 34 minutes off the bench for Portland with 5 rebounds and 5 assists and 1 block. Look at Jeremy Grant's season numbers. So far this year, he's having a much better season than we saw last year.
20.3 points a game.
3.3 rebounds, 2 assists on 50% shooting from the field. Jack, they are taking on, let's see here, I believe the Miami Heat next. If we head on over to that matchup between the Miami Heat and Portland Trailblazers, what are your expectations for Jeremy Grant?
I loved him at Syracuse, so we're gonna go a little bit positive with Jeremy today. I think he gives you right around that 20 points. He's gonna give you 18. If you feel confident, you can go a little bit more, but I think 18 points. And I think he's going to give you right around those 3 rebounds and 2 assists. Let's stick with kind of right around his line. I know that might be a little bit of safe play, but this guy is a hot commodity off the bench.
If it makes you any more confident in this game, Bam Adebayo is a game time decision. He is slated to come back in this game, but that's never a guarantee, especially with a player who doesn't have another star player on him since Tyler Hero is out until November 17th. So it could be a little bit of a good matchup for Jeremy Grant if he wants to get into the paint a little bit. Should boost his points a little bit there. Jack, your second player in Warlocks Locks here. Ooh, the music got really much.
Julius Randle.
Julius Randle of the Minnesota Timberwolves looked like he was uranium last night because of that NBA Cup court.
It was bright.
It was very bright. They take on the Sacramento Kings tomorrow night. Julius Randle is currently leading the team in scoring. He's averaging 25.9 points, 7.2 rebounds, and 6.3 assists. Shooting pretty well on the field goal percentage as well, 55.5% from the field with a 42% from 3. Julius Randle tends to be a guy who cools down a little bit later on in the season. He has these hot flashes, and then all of a sudden you see him do the spinning fadeaway through or mid-range shots that he loves to take. Kind of a little bit of an up and down player. Jack, what are your expectations for Julius Randle against the Kings on Sunday?
If you have Julius Randle in one of your roto leagues, I think right now, early season, that's very smart. Like you said, he always is. When he's healthy, he can fill the stat sheets. I'm saying we're not going to go as high as his averages, but let's say over 22 points. Let's say 5 rebounds.
Okay.
5. I'm not saying over. And let's say 4 assists.
All right. I like that. Jack, third up here in Warlocks Locks.
Let's not fumble the football again. Ooh, Jordan Clarkson.
All right, Jordan Clarkson. Let's take a look at who he's got up next here. He is on the New York Knicks, has had a pretty good season as a new member of the New York Knicks so far this year, averaging 8.9 points, 1.3 rebounds, 1.3 assists off the bench for the team. Their next game is tomorrow night against the New York Nets, or Brooklyn Nets, excuse me. They are 1-8, the worst team in basketball right now. This feels like a game where a guy like Jordan Clarkson, who is that fire starter off the bench, can get things going a little bit for this New York Knicks team, like he has in the past for Utah Jazz. It feels like that type of game where he just comes out and puts up like 20 points, right, Jack?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
I don't know about that. That would be optimistic. I think he'll give you around 14, maybe 15 points. He's definitely going to be above his average.
Okay.
And I think you're right on rebounds and assists because he's going to get some more clock. I think you're getting about 2 to 3 rebounds and 2 to 3 assists.
All right. I think I can see that being a potential for a guy like Jordan Clarkson. In the last game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, he put up 16 minutes and 7 points on only 3 of 6 shooting. Again, I feel like this is a game where he probably takes a few more shots. You talk about the people that are probably going to be guarding him. It's like Cam Thomas. That's not really a player that you want being a primary defender, or any of the bench players from the Brooklyn Nets. Again, just not a very good team. Feels like a game where he can kind of step up and be that type of player off the bench that we've seen him be in the past. Jack, your fourth and final poll for Warlocks Locks.
Okay, looking away. Feel like I got a good one.
All right. What do we got?
Oh my God, we talked about this earlier. Caris LeVert.
Oh, Caris LeVert of the Detroit Pistons. Let's head on over there. We were talking about him because I wasn't 100% sure if he was healthy so far this season. He's a guy who can be in and out of the lineup a lot of the times for any teams that he is playing for. But so far this season with Detroit, he's been coming off the bench, been one of their main pieces off of the bench. His last game against Brooklyn, funny enough, he put up 10 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal off the bench in just 20 minutes playing for this Detroit Pistons team. So far this season, he's averaging 6.8 points, 1.5 rebounds, 2.2 assists on not very good shooting. Jack, in a game coming up here for the Detroit Pistons versus the Philadelphia 76ers, again, a team that we talked about, also kind of disappointing so far this season to start off. What are your expectations for him? Is this going to be more of a negative one?
I think this is a bit more of a don't even play this guy, but I think he's going to give you maybe around 6 to 7 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists.
Okay, so not a very impressive game here. I think that's fair enough. I think between him or a Jordan Clarkson, though, one of those two guys is going to have one of those 6 man of the year.
I'm more comfortable with Jordan Clarkson.
All right, fair enough. Especially in New York's system. I think the only thing that could be a little more detrimental to like a Jordan Clarkson in that situation is that Tom Thibodeau, or I guess not Tom Thibodeau anymore, but Mike Brown, the way that he's been running his starting rotation has been with Mitchell Robinson kind of being the guy that's been the taking out of the lineup, not a Josh Hart, not a Mikal Bridges, but that Mitchell Robinson, that center rotation a little bit more, which makes it a little harder for a guy like Jordan Clarkson to slip into the lineup there.
He's a 3 or 4, an undersized 4.
But at the same time, when you talk about the team that they're playing, that kind of seems like something that he can fill in a little bit there. All right, so for Warlocks Locks, we had Jeremy Grant, we had Julius Randle, we had Jordan Clarkson, and Caris LeVert. That was a start on Jeremy Grant, correct?
Yep.
It was a start on Julius Randle, correct. That was a start on Jordan Clarkson.
And then sit
on Caris LeVert. All right, there you have it. And Jack, last week we looked at the Magic Cheese Ball for football. Are there any football guys that you're looking at this week that you want to give a little boost to?
Okay, so this is a guy who I think if you're really hurting and maybe your team's 4-5, maybe your team's 5-4, Alec Pierce looking really good as a wide receiver right now. I think he's on my bench. I do not have the testicular fortitude to say, hey, start him this week. But I think he could have a breakout week.
They traded away A.D. Mitchell last week to the New York Jets in exchange for Sauce Gardner. So that opens up the wide receiver room a little bit. Not that A.D. Mitchell was taking that many snaps away from an Alec Pierce, but it definitely takes away another option. So I think there could be definitely a point in this game where you see him getting a bigger share of the targets because there's just one less guy to feed those targets to.
I'd like to see him do well so we can look smart. But I think he's someone who in the next couple of weeks is going to take on a bigger role.
With that same thing in mind, I'm going to dive into the magic cheese ball a little bit
let's
too.
Do it.
A.D. Mitchell for the New York Jets. Keep an eye on him for the next couple of weeks. I think this is a situation where he could really step up as a number 2 wide receiver in New York. I know their quarterback situation isn't exactly the most desirable right now, but adding another player who has a lot of potential like A.D. Mitchell does next to a Garrett Wilson can hopefully open up a Garrett Wilson.
Pairs
in exchange,
really well.
Opens up an A.D. Mitchell as well to kind of take control of an opportunity that I don't think he was able to in Indianapolis because they had so much
mouths
power.
To feed.
Exactly. Yeah. When you have an Alec Pierce, you have a Michael Pittman, and then you have a Josh Downs as well. Oh, and then they drafted Tyler Warren, who's been one of the best rookies in the league so far. It's kind of hard to feed that mouth.
Yeah, a lot of horses in the stable.
Exactly. That will do it for Warlocks. Locks, always a fun segment over here for Wisconsin Sports Weekend. If you missed any of it, feel free to rewind on YouTube or on X, where we are live streaming the show right now at WI Sports Radio. When we come back, it is the Wisconsin Sports Weekend Pub Crawl, where Jack and I go back and forth sharing some stories we heard from across the sports world this past week that you may have missed. I'm Charlie Uczen. That's Jack Pembroke. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend. When we come back, it'll be time to crawl. I don't think that's the right music. I think we need to switch that out a little bit. Oh, that sounds a little better,
That's
Jack.
better.
Right.
Let's get the violin out.
It is Wisconsin Sports, a weekend live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Uczen, that's Jack Pembroke over there, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. When this music comes on, you know it's time for the Wisconsin Sports Weekend Pub Crawl right here on Wisconsin Sports Weekend. Jack and I will go back and forth sharing some fun topics that we learned from the sports world that you may have missed, that Jack may have missed, that I may have missed. Sometimes Jack likes to dive into science, history. He goes a little out of the realm, and I learn something new every week.
We like to expand our viewers' minds.
Exactly. So let's get it kicked off. I'll start us off on the pub crawl. Let's look at MLB award finalists. So for the Milwaukee Brewers specifically, over on Rookie of the Year voting, we have Drake Baldwin of the Atlanta Braves. He's over on that list. He's a guy that I think is going to get a lot of love. Pitcher Cade Horton for the Chicago Cubs is also in that group. Jack, who do you think is the Brewers representative for Rookie of the Year, since the third player is a Milwaukee Brewer?
I don't know.
It is Caleb Durbin, shortstop.
Oh, God, that should have
third
been so
baseman.
easy.
I don't know if it really was all that easy, because Jacob Mizorowski was a guy earlier in the season.
Sure, the Miz had his point.
I know his second half was not very fun to watch at all the points, but it was still a good point or start to his career, I think, for Jacob Mizorowski. And Isaac Collins had that 1 month where he looked like the best player in baseball. They had a lot of options on this team, but Caleb Durbin was the guy who was consistently in this lineup all year. Really, truly was just a cornerstone out there, while not being the best player on the team, not always being the star of the team, was around. And he was always there, and in the clutch, he was there for this team. He's not going to win Rookie of the Year. Drake Baldwin and Cade Horton both had phenomenal seasons, and both of them probably deserve it more than a Caleb Durbin, but it's still awesome for him to get that recognition. Pat Murphy is once again in the National League Manager of the Year vote. He's going up against Terry Francona in Cincinnati. That is really kind of his only true competition, if we're being completely honest. But Pat Murphy, I think, has his lockdown for 2 straight Manager of the Year awards, which has only happened 3 other times in MLB history. Jack, what do you got up next on the pub crawl?
So this is something very near and dear to my heart. A really good friend and famous disc golfer in the Milwaukee / even Midwest community of disc golf passed away, but we will be having a Disc Dog Memorial. That was his nickname, Disc Dog. His name's Gene Fury. He was helped me become a better disc golfer. Really loved in the community. And November 16th at Dredska Park, we will be having a 27 hole 1 round. And then we're going to be doing some closest to the pin prizes, some discs, some other stuff. There's going to be catered food for free. And it's just a great way to celebrate one of the most influential and just a great guy who unfortunately isn't with us anymore.
When is this event, Jack?
November 16th. And it is from 8 a.m. until about 4:30 p.m.
Well, that was like all day. You guys have a lot of time. This should be a really awesome event. Rest in peace to Gene Fury. He seems like a great role model. I never met him, but it sounds like somebody that I wish
you would
I
have loved him.
He
was notorious for playing very slow, and people still loved him.
Taking his time. Yeah, I like that. That's how it should be. Again, rest in peace to Gene Fury, and my thoughts go out to his family as well. Next up on the pub crawl, we're going to discuss a little bit of women's basketball, not WNBA, because the WNBA might have some competition moving forward here. If we head over to Front Office Sports, Project B, a new global women's basketball league launching in 2026, is offering players $2 million plus per year with multi-year deals worth 8 figures and equity stakes. That's far above the WNBA's current $249,000 Supermax contract. Seattle Storm star and WNBA PA president, so the person who's leading the Players Association, Nneka Ogwumike, has already signed on as Project B's first player. So the person who represents the WNBA players, like field and group, is saying that she's going over to a different league, basically. Jack, what do you think this means for the WNBA? And then are you excited for something like this where you can maybe see it more on a global stage, where I think women's basketball is for lack of a better term, taken more seriously over?
I think it reminds me of what players like Diana Taurasi were doing, where they have their season in the US and then go get paid in Russia or China and I think it's a great opportunity. Look, I love basketball of any kind, but they're definitely underpaid. And this is capitalism. If you don't like it, too bad. They think that they're worth something, and someone's willing to pay them.
They're finding a way to make that money. Yeah, that's good for them. That's the dream out here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jack, what do you got up next on the pub crawl?
So we've got an anytime touchdown parlay of Josh Jacobs. I'm a little bit biased on this next one. Drake London has been killing it on my team. And then we're going to go with the Chris Olave. I just think a lot more opportunities.
Tyler Shough
I know.
Game? Is that
know.
what you're looking for here?
I don't think a breakout game from him. But there's going to be some
2 interceptions in the first half.
Okay.
I'm calling this. Spencer Rattler comes in, throws a couple touchdowns.
Okay, so you heard it here first, people. The anytime touchdown parlay will be finished, but it will be Tyler Shough exiting early, and we get a Spencer Rattler comeback.
We'll see. We'll see.
I love it.
That's a bold prediction, but I really like Spencer Rattler. I think he played the first half of this season. Not great, obviously, but you look at the talent that's around him in New Orleans, it's not exactly the strongest group of players playing around him. And I think he did what he could with what he had.
Even his teammates said they preferred Spencer Rattler.
He's not a starting quarterback in this league, but I think he got himself a job as a backup quarterback moving forward with how he played. And I think that's something that's really important for a player like Spencer Rattler, who went into college football with such high expectations and came crashing down.
Then your boy Caleb came in and took his job.
Right, exactly. And I think you see a lot of players that kind of go on that same kind of trajectory and don't ever make it back up to where they should be based on their high school projections or something like that. So I think it's really cool to see Spencer Rattler kind of get back to that level of competition. And I think he earned himself at least 5 more years as a backup in the league. Next up on the pub crawl, we're going to head over to Arizona, where they announced that Jacoby Brissett will be the starter for the remainder of the season for the Arizona Cardinals, at least for the foreseeable future. They also put Kyler Murray on the IR the day after they announced that Jacoby Brissett was going to take the starting job from him. Jack, a lot of people have speculated that this could be more Kyler Murray saying, you know what, I don't want to play. The Cardinals going, fine, we don't really want to play you anyways. But it's also really easy to trade a player who was injured versus just trading a player who got benched.
I also have a theory. A certain video game that Kyler Murray loves to play just came out. Just came out. And it's so weird how he they have it in his contract that he cannot play Call of Duty during the season. So my thinking is he's not as injured as we'd like to think. And I do agree with you, is the only way Arizona could get rid of him.
I think just the relationship between Kyler Murray and the offensive coordinator of the Cardinals with Jonathan Gannon,
kaput.
It was just it never fit. It never felt like his style of play matched with what they were trying to do as an organization on the field. And I think both of them are just starting to realize that now. I think Kyler Murray's still a very talented player. He can go somewhere and make an impact on a different team that knows how to use his skill set the way that they feel like he should be used, which is more mobile, probably smaller style pass game, just because he's not a taller guy. I think with what the Arizona Cardinals want to do right now is they want to get the ball downfield fast. They want to be kind of a high-powered offense and make other teams catch up to them. That's what Marvin Harrison does really well. He gets downfield and he makes plays downfield. You can't do that with Kyler Murray.
You can see it with Jacoby Brissett. There's just a better rapport. And look, if you really want to notice a stat that players, Kyler Murray has the same amount of touchdowns with Trey McBride as Jacoby Brissett has in the last 4 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty telling in my eyes. Jack, what do you got up next year on the pub crawl?
So, we loved hammer on the NIL deals and how sometimes it's not the best option. Mm-hmm. Kentucky's now backup quarterback was seen flaunting on Instagram Live many $100 bills to a fan that was complaining that, there's a reason he's not the first string anymore. Look, Zach Calzada, I think you need to – Herm Edwards used to say this. Don't press send.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's simple for us who don't have NIL money to say don't flaunt it, but if you've just been demoted, probably not the best, business decision.
Right. I don't think your coaching staff's going to be very happy with you. Going back to the last pub crawl topic, Nick on the dugout chat on YouTube at WI Sports Radio says Kyler Murray needs to go to the A's. They do still retain his rights.
Yeah, he's 28. Still has time.
I heard he was a pretty good. I think he played shortstop when he was
played shortstop and center fielder, and he had an arm on him, and he could hit.
There you go. I mean, that could be pretty cool. That'd be a big story if he switched sports.
Baby Yoda to baseball.
Exactly. That would be a fun story. Last up here on my side of the pub crawl, I just wanted to give you guys an update on college football playoff rankings that came out this past week. The first round of them, Ohio State is currently the 1 seed at 8-0. Indiana sitting at 2 at 9-0. Texas A&M at 3, 8-0. Alabama 7-1 at 4. Georgia 7-1 at 5. Ole Miss 8-1 at 6. BYU 8-0 at 7. Texas Tech 8-1 at 8. Oregon 7-1 at 9. Notre Dame 6-2 at 10. So that's the top 10 right now. Should be a fun playoff field. College football has been really exciting so far this season, Jack.
I love college football. It's hard for me to love a team in Madison right now, but I will always love them. I will always love them.
And we got time for one more, Jack.
Good.
What do you got?
Scientists have now discovered a water reservoir that is 3 times more water than all the world's oceans combined. And the explanation on that is scientists from Northwestern University and the University of New Mexico have discovered evidence of a vast underground reservoir, and it is a mineral called ringwoodite and located about 400 miles beneath our surface.
All right, there you go. We're always discovering something new, it feels like, every week, Jack.
I like discoveries, adventures.
Exactly.
Clean water's good.
Makes it a lot of fun. We all like clean water around here. That will do it for Wisconsin Sports Weekend's pub crawl, and subsequently we'll do it for Wisconsin Sports Weekend. I'm Charlie Uczen. That's Jack Pembroke over there. Thank you so much for joining us this week. You can follow us on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, all those places. It's Wisconsin Sports Weekend. This is the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. We're presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor.